Virginia Governor Bob McDonnell joins us right now. He's a Romney surrogate and chairman of the Republican Governors Association. Our guest host today, by the way, is Jack Welch. And Governor, thank you for joining us here.
Thank you, Becky.
You know, things are certainly heating up, but there is a new poll out today from NBC News and the Wall Street Journal that shows Romney behind by 5 points to the president. And I wonder what you think needs to happen at this point to make it a more competitive race.
Well, we need to get more votes. Listen, this is we've seen polls go up and down over the last couple of months. There's only one that matters. I think the debates are going to have a big impact on who people vote for. And as people really tune in now post-Labor Day, Becky, I think they're more and more concerned about the guts of the economy, the jobless rate, 8% for 43 months, the debt, which is unsustainable in this country at $16 trillion, energy prices, which have doubled. And so these are the things I think that dominate. That's what independent voters care about, certainly in Virginia. And I think it's going to be a horse race to the end.
What does Mitt Romney need to do in those debates, Governor?
I think he needs to show the crystal clear difference between his vision for America and between Barack Obama's record over the last 4 years. The president's tried. The president just hasn't succeeded on all the big things that Americans say they're going to vote on: the jobs, economy, energy, debt, taxes. We're not any better off, no matter how the president tries to spend it. And so I think making that comparison, number one. But number two, I think he's got to close the deal even better by saying, and this is my specific plan, and this is what I will do. And based on my record of getting results as governor of Massachusetts, the Olympics, and the private sector, this is why it'd be better for you and your families. I think that's the closing argument that you'll see from Mitt Romney.
That sounds an awful lot like what you laid out earlier today.
Well, I think he should get off a lot of Obama's past and talk about what America would look like with 4 more years of Obama in 2016 and what it will look like with him. With Ron Romney, make the case, you'll have 5% unemployment. With Obama, we'll have the same 7 to 8 unemployment. All these different things. We'll have no defense with Obama. We'll have a defense with Romney. Paint a picture of 2016, what kids will look like in schools, what growth will do for poverty programs. We won't be paying for poverty programs out of borrowings from China. We'll be paying for poverty programs out of revenues created from the growth economy. I mean, and we can take care of those that fall through the net. But we got to paint a picture going forward. I'm sick of saying how bad Obama was in the past. We're going to get the same 4 years coming forward. More regulations, more taxes, all these things. Paint that picture.
Governor, do you believe the results that I was just talking about with the latest poll? You do say polls go up and down, but with the exception of Rasmussen, Gallup's within 1 point, but it's 1 point to the president.
Right, but Rasmussen
is the only one that's had him leading.
2008, 2004, Rasmussen was more accurate than any other poll in 2004.
Well, we ought to ask the governor.
Yeah. Governor, what do you think?
Right. Well, what I would say is 5 months ago, Mitt Romney was down by 8 in Virginia. Depending on which poll you look at now, there was Quinnipiac down 4 today, Rasmussen down 1. Both of those are margin of error. So I say it's a horse race. He's doing better already than, in fact, he lost by 7 in 2008. This is a close and divided electorate. So it's going to come down to 2 things, is the closing argument. And I think what you just heard earlier is painting the picture of the 2 visions and what it means going forward for 4 years is exactly right. And convincing those independent voters that they and their kids and their grandkids will be better off with a Romney presidency and the specific plans on trade, on jobs, on workforce development, on energy, small business development, that these will create a better picture for America than what we got now with 23 million Americans that can't work and $6 trillion of new debt under President Obama. We can't keep going on this way. I think that's the closing argument. The debates are going to be critically important to move those last 5, 6, 10% of the undecided voters one way or the other. I do think this, though. Generally, when the president hadn't closed the deal, with only a little over a month to go, those people generally will break for the challenger, and I think that's good for Romney.
You mentioned that you'd like to hear more specifics, and you think that's what Mitt Romney needs to really lay out. It's to do that just in debates when you're in a tightly controlled format and you have a limited amount of time. Do you expect to start hearing more specifics on things like the tax plan, on things like energy? Do you expect to hear more of those in stump speeches along the way?
Well, I think he's been a lot more specific than President Obama, who knows we're in debt up to our eyeballs and won't even accept the Simpson-Bowles report of his own commission. I mean, we're getting nothing but more spending, more taxes, and more bailouts. But as a challenger, you probably have a higher bar, a higher hurdle to jump over to get there, correct? Well, I'm not sure. If you have 4 years and you say, give me 4 more years and I'll tell you what I'll do later on, I mean, that's not much of a mess. I do think that people do want to say, how are you really going to get this done? I know things aren't working now. And I know that we need a change, but what exactly I mean, that's a natural inquiry. I think he has laid out with both some of the Ryan plan as well as his cuts of $500 billion in spending to be able to start this deficit reduction plan. He's laid out the beginning of a plan. He's been more specific than the president, I would say. And the bottom line is, no matter how the president spends it, 23 million people unemployed, $6 trillion of new debt, no energy plan, gas prices doubling, not acceptable, and Mitt Romney can do better.
Polls on Obamacare are still 53 against, 43 for, and that's one thing you didn't. If there's another 4 years, Obamacare will be law. There's no if the president gets back in, right?
There's no question.
Well, that's a very good point.
No question. It's 53-43. That's why you got to look at that poll too. And people aren't single issue voters, obviously. But 53 and a right track. We heard all this improvement from John about the right track has gone up to 39%. Only 39% think we're on the right track. It's amazing that Bill Clinton's speech seemed to convince a lot of people that you're not really as bad off as you think, and no president could have done better. And not that Bill would ever, not that Bill would ever, maybe mislead us, but I mean, there's a book out called The Amateur about the Obama presidency, and that title came from Bill Clinton. If you believe it, I mean, you can say that it's, that Klein is exaggerating, but that Bill Clinton speech turned a lot of things around. It seems like, Governor.
Well, that's a good point. Listen, Bill Clinton's a team player. He gives a great speech, but he doesn't believe that because he actually did it in 4 years. He worked with Newt Gingrich. He tacked to the center. They got a lot of big things done, from welfare reform, budget reform. And Bill Clinton actually ran a surplus, the first president in 30 years, over the last 30 years to actually do that. So he doesn't believe that either, but he's being a team player. And President Obama's gone the other way. He hadn't tacked a bit to the center. He continues to move to the left. He admits he's a redistributionist. And this is an important debate, is how do we want to get more people dependent on a good job and on themselves and their families to be able to pay taxes, to be contributors to the American dream. I mean, that's really a lot about what this campaign is about. I think Mitt Romney's ideas will trump the record of effort and failure of Barack Obama, and that's the closing argument, and that's why I think he'll win Virginia.
All right, Governor McDonnell, thank you for joining us today.
Okay, thanks very much.
Appreciate it.